Hey everybody, it's Nick again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Dataverse and the hidden features. Do you realize if Microsoft Dataverse were a human, they would be legally old enough to vote, to drive, to drink alcohol? Now, this particular feature, it's more than just a database. It's a common data service. That was its previous name, and we won't data flex too much about that. It evolved a lot from Dynamics CRM all the way going back to 2002. Now, over the years, Dataverse has been cloudified, it has been enhanced, it has been upgraded, and now becoming a core part of the new AI agentic reality that we live in. You can even connect Dataverse as an MCP server, which is currently in preview and pretty cool. All this being said, over the years, there have been features that have been added or a part of Dataverse that have been either forgotten or really not well known, but they still provide a lot of value when you're anybody that's building agents, apps, automations, analytics, or websites. Some of these features aren't easily found in the Power Apps Maker portal, so we have to go and dig a little bit to find them. Here are 5 features that I find that I'm discussing building Power Platform solutions with makers, developers, and admins that they've either completely forgotten or just didn't know they exist. Now, some of these features appear to be Dynamics 365 features, but really, they're fully available for you to build your custom applications using regular Power Apps licenses on top of Dataverse. Let's dig in and take a look. Now, the very first feature I'm going to talk about is the Outlook integration. Now, the app is called the Dynamics 365 app for Outlook. It has been around since the early days of CRM. It's been evolved. There's actually been, it was rewritten, rebuilt a few years back, and it works way better. It is fully available to anybody with a Power Apps license. Now, a lot of people will have argued they think it because it says Dynamics 365 you need a Dynamics 365 license, but in reality it is actually part of the Dataverse, part of the Power Platform. You can install this. I have a whole other video and blog post on how to install and configure this, but basically the features are you can get an email, you can immediately track that to your Dataverse records, you could link it to your Dataverse contacts and have that synchronization between your Outlook and your Power App, which is pretty cool because a lot of the business is still being done through email and being tracked against your particular records. So that is the first feature that I think sometimes gets a little bit overlooked when creating Power Platform solutions. Let's move on to the next one. Number 2, now hand in hand with the Outlook integration is the ability to sync up with Microsoft Exchange or even other email systems. Now this is something that a lot of folks just don't know exists. If you go into the Power Platform Admin Center, and this is the new one, remember the old one is going away, and you navigate to your particular environment, there is a whole email section here where we have things like server profiles, where we will connect automatically to Microsoft Exchange, but you could connect to other email systems here as well. Along with those email settings, we have things like queues, we have different email tracking, folder tracking, setting up must mailboxes, goes a little bit beyond the scope of today. Now, I could build a video on this if you really like to, just leave a comment below. But I do think this is something that people tend to forget about, that really tightly integrated into email with Dataverse. So this means that you don't necessarily have to rely on Power Automate using the Outlook connector. Now, I use it all the time for a lot of things, but this is a little bit tighter integration. It doesn't use up those flow runs. You don't have to worry about things like service accounts and those types of things in terms of all of this. So check out that feature. You may open up your world to a whole new realm of possibilities when building your apps and agents. All right, how many times have you gotten that support call, or you're talking to your customers, or even yourself, you're working with your Power App or your model-driven app, you're going, this seems really, really slow. What's going on? It works way too slow. Did you know there is a built-in diagnostic tool that you can use to measure the speed of your Power App, your connection to Dataverse? So I'm going to put the URL. It is going to be in the companion blog post. I'll put the link here, wherever it is, in editing. But basically going to this URL with your environment ID, and you can actually run, it is again called Dynamics 365 Diagnostics. It's a tool that's been there since forever, but it does work on Power Apps as well. And we can run this and we can see things like a latency test, a bandwidth test, browser info, IP address, different JavaScript benchmarks. And we see here that I've got 30 milliseconds, a 9.49 megabyte per second bandwidth test. Right now it's doing pretty good, but if there's issues with my internet connection or even where I am in the world connecting to different geos, we're going to see these numbers a little bit different. Now, what I would recommend, results that we take a copy of them, log them somewhere, and that way we can compare time and time again of the different speed tests to make sure that if it is slow, that we have something to compare it to. That was tip number 3. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this is tip number 4. Now, if you're in your model-driven app and you've created relationships, and this one is particularly out of the box, account and contact. So here I have my contact record. If I go in and I create a new contact, it's going to load the quick create. Now notice it filled in the account name automatically for me, but also things like the address. It already pre-filled all this. That's pretty interesting. Is that just something that's baked into the Dataverse that's not available to us? Wrong. You can configure this too in your own relationships. The trick is it is not available through the regular Power Apps Maker portal. We have to go into the classic settings. Let's take a look. So I'm in the regular Power Apps Maker portal. Now what I do need to do is click on the switch to classic. I'm going to go in here and this is going to bring up the classic interface. Now sometimes because we're going to the classic interface, it's going to have a little pop-up here. Microsoft is going to ask, hey, why are you going to the classic interface? Well, make sure you answer, hey, I need to do field mappings. That's why I'm going there. Microsoft takes this feedback and hopefully they're going to add that field mappings capability into the new interface, but for now it's still in the classic. Let's just take a quick look at this. I'm going to go into my solution, and from here I'm going to take a look at my entities. Here's my account. Here's the relationships. Now I do realize that some of you do prefer this particular classic interface, and that's perfectly okay. In these relationships, I'm going to go in to check that out. And it's going to open up another form here. And we're going to have this side panel called mappings. Let me just increase the size here a little bit. And with that relationship with mappings, we see the different fields here. Now, what you can do is you can create mappings between your parent entity and your child entity. Now, the thing is they have to match the different field types, like date time to date time or number to number, string to string, that kind of thing. And also the length of the particular strings have to be equal or less than the target. You can't put bigger strings into smaller things. You can't put square pegs into round holes, that kind of thing. So that's a feature that's, I think, really cool, and a lot of people don't know about this. It's a great way to move data when you're creating new records. But just note, it is for creating new records. If you update your parent record, those changes will not be automatically rolled down to those child records unless you write some extra customization. So just be aware of that with the mapping, but still a pretty important feature, not very well known, probably because it is in the classic interface. Hopefully this will be in the newer interface eventually, if not soon. Let's hope. Let's move on to our last one, number 5. All right, this one I'm going to be talking a little bit about next is my 5th one on the list. This is multi-table lookups. Now, I'm creating a brand new app here for my, managing my travel and my expenses. So here I have a new expense record. Here I created related bookings. I could relate to my flight booking, my hotel booking, my car rental booking. These are all separate tables in Dataverse. That's how I kind of modeled it out. It's a little clunky to have different lookups when we're trying to look up things or find things. It kind of makes things a little bit complicated. Wouldn't it be great if I could just have one single lookup looking to all 3 of these things? Well, using multi-table lookups I can, and I've created it here. Here's my expense for. If I do a lookup, I see 5 types of records. I can see car rental bookings, events, flight bookings. This particular one looks like it was a hotel booking. I can look here and I can find a particular hotel booking and link that up. So that is my multi-table lookup. Now, the problem is there is no maker interface provided by Microsoft to set these up. The way to do it is through the API. So you need a developer on board to actually run those configurations to connect this up. Or do you? Let's take a look. There is an XRM toolbox utility that will set up these multi-table lookups for you. All right, so this is the XRM toolbox. The tool is Polymorphic Lookup Manager. I've picked my solution, I've picked my referencing table, that was the expense table, and I've chosen to create an attribute. Now you can use this tool, it can create that new attribute for you, or we can look up an existing one if we want to make edits. And then I chose all of the reference tables. car rental booking, flight booking, hotel booking. I've also linked to the trip and to the particular event. And then from here, very much like we can in other relationships, I can determine the different names and the behaviors with that. And then from that, we've created our multi-table lookup. So thanks to Tanguy for creating this tool, very valuable and really good for creating those multi-table lookups. So those were 5 things in the Dataverse which I feel aren't really well known anymore. They're maybe forgotten. Maybe you use them all the time and you're going, Nick, what are you talking about? Those, everybody knows about those. I don't think everybody does. Now there's a lot more than this. What are ones that I've missed? There's a few others on the list. Calculated field lookups, where we can see the records we can see values from the parent record and child records. I find that pretty cool. Multi-currency, I did a video on that a few weeks ago. We're using AI Builder. Multi-currency is one of those things that I find that a lot of people know about, that there is that feature we have multi-currency. The report wizard, I did a video on this years ago, and it's probably something that's probably being phased out. You might want to use different things now, but there is a report wizard buried down. You can add it in a solution and gives you very simple either chart or very simple grid type reports. Leading into that, there is something also called SQL Server Reporting Services reports. Now this is probably really ancient technology, but it is still there. I know some folks that are still using it. It doesn't require any additional licenses, but you can write some pretty complex reports, even dump those out into PDFs or different formats using Visual Studio and building these reports and uploading what they call the report definition library files. You can use Fetch XML to build out those reports. I do have some links that I'm going to put into the blog post that you can check that out. Probably Power BI or some of these other tools is probably better, but that still exists for now. So, and I could keep going on and on. There's a lot of other things. There's SharePoint document integration, duplicate detection, Word templates, Excel integration. There's a lot of features of Dataverse that I find a lot of makers just either miss or just aren't aware about. And you can dive in and look. Is there anything that you're using that you think is either forgotten or not well known? Anything you want me to create a video or some content on? I'm always looking for ideas. Anyways, thanks for watching this particular video and look forward to the next one.